So I think I'll start with this poem, and then I wanted to tell a story that I have told multiple times, but uh, it's kind of the heart of it all, you know. So this poem from Scuffed Up Shoes. River rushes, Buddha floats, sitting hour after hour, no end in sight. Time rushes downstream, holding on for dear life. Inner tube of self, slowly losing air. Current pulling one out into the unknown. Struggling for shore once again. One lets go of inner tube. No struggle. In pure amazement, floating. Look, Mom, no hands, no feet, no body. Oops, no me. When clarity comes, the Buddha crashes on his bottom, cracking the center, revealing his golden light. The Buddha crashes on his bottom, cracking the center, revealing his golden light. So, okay, back to my favorite story. Okay, so in the 30s, I guess it's 40s actually, Bangkok, was it was the Venice of Asia, and so it was just all canals. So now, when I first went there in 1961, the river and the canals were still very functional, and there were the old kind of on stilt teak houses. Actually a remarkable place in those years. And what they had to do, though, was, there are 44,000 temples in Thailand. 44,000 temples. So, every block or so, there's a temple. It's been built over the last 1,500 years or whatever. But I mean, Bangkok came later, because before Bangkok was Ayutthaya, which was the kingdom for many, many years, and has some of the most remarkable antiquities, Buddhist antiquities around. It is a remarkable place. And but they went, oh, we got to modernize, and so we're going to get rid of these canals and fill them in, and make roads, and big roads in Bangkok. And one of the things that had to happen was, they had to also, with all these temples, they had to tear down some of these temples. And one of the oldest temples in Bangkok was this one that they had brought a statue, a large, probably 30 feet high or so, statue from Ayutthaya, and had built the temple around the statue. And and it was very highly revered, but nobody knew why, or really what the history was, except because there had been a lot of war between the Thais and the Burmese, and they had had back and forth over the time, and so they had to get this Buddha out. So they went in and they got all these straps and everything, and they strapped the Buddha up and brought a crane into the building, into the temple, and they lifted this thing up, and they took it out, and unfortunately, when they were unhooking it, some of the lanyards came off, and the thing fell and hit the ground. And but they couldn't see anything at the time because it was kind of dark. And as story goes, it rained that night, and so the Buddha was, even though it was covered, it got wet, and this monk went out in the early dawn, and there was a crack right down through the center of this old Buddha, and they could see this golden light coming out from the center. And as story goes, they actually break the old Ayutthaya clay Buddha apart and find this huge solid gold Buddha inside, which is now in the National Palace as a, it's a, I don't know how many tons of gold it is, but it's a lot. And so, but the story is really goes to the piece that somehow that in this thing, probably they think it had been, I think if I read somewhere, it had been 800 years when the monastery where the temple was and there was war going on, that they built this clay Buddha around their most prized possession, this solid gold Buddha. So that's kind of the outer story of it. The inner story is, which I love, is the fact that in Buddhist tradition, in some ways, I guess it's all symbolic, because in some ways we all have to fall and crack. And unfortunately, that happens, and it's really, it can be, devastation, or it can be actually that thing that allows what is in our essence there to shine. And so there is this, we are all, one of the wonderful things about dealing with this word Buddha nature is that we are all have Buddha nature. But due to our, I saw this great thing, what they call the three poisons of moha, raga, and vesha, which is aversion, greed, and desire. But when we actually begin to see that these are the things that prevent us from being really bodhisattvas, being good hearts in this world. And so actually delusion turns to prajna, to wisdom. Greed turns to dana, which is generosity. And the aversion, nimitta, becomes loving kindness. And so it is the transforming of these negative forces that reveals that golden light of that which we are. This is not some people have it and some people don't have it. And even most terrible people, they all have this, Of course, in some ways, because this, in the Tibetan wheel of the law, a wheel of life, there is the center, which is a circle that's spinning around. And they have, what is it, a pig, which is delusion, because a pig takes and puts mud over its eyes so it can't see and kind of sticks its head in the mud. There's the cock, which is always chasing after the hens. And there is the snake, which is which is actually the kind of our inner ill will, anger, obviously based on fear, but it's still, these are the manifestations they make. And our job is that, yes, we carry these things and we have to transform them, and it is really, in many ways, and I'm sorry to say that sometimes that nice Buddha that was put together 800 years ago has to slip off of its mounting and fall on the ground and get that crack, but only to reveal this marvelous truth about it. This is from Osel Tenzin. Having a proper attitude towards journey is essential. If we make a journey properly, then everything we encounter is considered part of it. We're fully involved in the process of journeying rather than being fixed on our destination. We're not looking for a quick solution, but rather willing to be open, precise, and thorough in relating with ourselves as well as the facets of our environment. The weather, the scenery, the landmarks, and the obstacles are sidetracks along the way. In entering the path to enlightenment, we are beginning a process of transforming confusion into wisdom. But in order to make this journey, we must first acknowledge that we are confused, that our environment is chaotic. Beyond that, we are perpetuated because we do not have the training to see things as they are. I love this one. It's one of Ram Dass quotes, but it's what it's all about. You can either be wise or you can know knowledge. But you can't know wisdom. You have to be it. Wisdom has simplicity to it. What the spiritual path offers is a way to come back into balance, to develop our intuition and wisdom of our heart so that the intellect is no longer the master, but instead is the servant of our heart. The part of us that brings us into unity with ourselves and all other beings. Isn't that lovely? So I think, in this process of I understand it's once we see the crack, we have to take this whole structure, which this 800-year plaster structure, we have to disassemble it to allow that singular golden Buddha to be who we are. And it's a lot of work because there is a lot of kind of taking it apart, of studying the components that made up this enormous clay statue, and that all the different color paints and images that are actually there. And it's just like, once we begin to study ourselves, we first of all, we are multiple personalities. And it's so interesting. You're being true to yourself is trying to stay yourself. But so much of the time as we grow up, we've been taught to have all these multi-functions. Like with one group of people, we're this way. With another group of people, we're that way. We kind of shade or hide our weaknesses or ambiguities or fears. And this is saying, okay, you're going to have to take a look at all these and very meticulously take one piece off at a time, because it's like the Buddha, it wasn't made with one plaster piece, it was made in layers. And so there are multiple layers that produce the clay that covered the gold, So, we spend a lot of time. We get through a couple layers and then we get stuck for a while. And that's just, that's okay. It's just what happens, because we have to understand that we are on a journey. And that journey isn't going to stop just because we've found one that's pretty nice. One layer of the Buddha is pretty good, but it's not the center. It's not that which I can say is that piece that's awakened. I love this. This is from The Myth of Freedom, from Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, one of my teachers, who controversial teachers, but who was a brilliant teacher. The experience of oneself relating to other things is actually a momentary discrimination, a fleeting thought. If we generate these fleeting thoughts fast enough, we will create the illusion of continuity and solidity. It is like watching a movie. The individual film frames are played so quickly that they generate the illusion of continual movement. So we build up an idea, a preconception, that self and other are solid and continuous. And once we have this idea, we manipulate our thoughts to confirm it and are afraid of any contrary evidence. It is this fear of exposure, this denial of impermanence, that imprisons us. It is only by acknowledging impermanence that there is a chance to die, the space to be reborn, and the possibilities of appreciating life as a creative process. It's pretty brilliant. So, I think in many ways, we're such we're really self-centered creatures. And being self-centered, we train ourselves and through our senses, because our senses also support this, that there is a knower, and then there is the knowing. The knowing can be, seeing, smelling, tasting, hearing, body sensations, different feelings, thoughts, memories, plans, explorations or investigations. Those are all where they're all dual in a dualistic state. There's always the experience and the experiencer. And what we have to do is turn around to this experiencer and begin to see that experiencer is not, it's not married. It is in a temporal situation that's moving so fast that consciousness is dancing. So it goes from seeing to smelling to tasting to hearing to remembering. It just constantly, through the senses, it is constantly chasing after. And at some point we have to, this is the whole thing of practice. We have to settle it all down. Oh, hold on there. And as we settle it down, we have to be able to turn the attention around. And turning the attention around suddenly begins to acknowledge, there is what's experienced and there's the experiencer. Oh, I'm going to attend to the experiencer and see who is the experiencer. And that's a question. Who is the experiencer? And in many ways, as we kind of work with this system of, it is a awakening and an inquiry, is we begin to see that the world that we have constructed, yes, due to the relative truths of our senses and our thoughts and all of our connections and people and things and storytelling and all of it, that is there something that's actually solid in it? I always wondered, I think this was the thing, when I went to Asia in the 60s, one of my things was I came to this thing where, I'd grown up in Switzerland. I'd kind of lived in, all over, and last Paris, and then I came to the States. And one of the things was, because I was interested in, spirituality, that said somehow that there was something in me that was more than. And I began to question, was there something in me that's more than? We use the language of soul, or we use the language of, some control that's bigger than us. And there was some part of me that doubted it and said, no, I don't think that's it. And so it was an exploration of, part of it was the doubter. I have to admit, I was a doubter. And but another part of it was the searcher. So there was the doubter and the searcher. And they had to kind of dance. And but the searcher actually won. And the searcher then no longer was, I can say, trusting in what I had been taught to believe. And that was because I was a good doubter, and that doubting, it actually was the energetics that took me to India in the first place. I wasn't going to stay here and I don't know, I could have, I would have, I could have, I didn't, not English, but that's all right. I didn't. And I can't say I suffered for it. At the same time, that seeker had to, at some point, The seeker was always something that was not here. It was always out there. So I traveled all over seeking what I already had. That's the story of this internal Buddha that has always been there. But there was no way I could get to it. So basically, I had to suffer a lot, and I had to go and drop the whole thing. And I think mine kind of shattered into pieces, and then rebuild it on some level. But I rebuild it because what was at the center of it was this, this phenomenal awareness that was no longer dependent on anything. It was, in a sense, it was outside of this world, and yet it resided in this world. And so it became the archetype of this process of awakening. Oh, there is that doesn't change, that has always been there, that I have sought, but because I sought, I always missed it. I always went past it. I either went before it or behind it, or above it or to the side of it, until finally I had to surrender and say, oh, you know what? This is me. And it is all of us. Every one of us is that. I think in the end, we can chase, the seeker can chase, all things. But we need to, on some level, befriend that seeker. This is, I don't know if this is from Jack or Joseph, one of my old compatriots. Again, the problem is not the object of desire, but the energy in the mind. The energy of desire keeps us moving, looking for that thing that really is going to do it for us. The wanting mind is in itself, this is important, the wanting mind in itself is painful. It is a self-perpetuating habit that does not allow us to be where we are because we are grasping for something somewhere else. Real seeker. Even when we get what we want, we then want something more or different because the habit of wanting is so strong, is a sense that being here and now is not enough. That being here and now is not enough. That's pretty straightforward. And we do it all the time. That is the quintessential story of the seeker, And then at some point, I have to say, I'm so fortunate to have gotten old. I'm not that old, but I'm headed towards 80, and something about, oh, geez, it's been such a privilege to be able to be here this long, and going through this last year of medical mishmash. It's just like, oh my God, you had to cut me up, and I guess for 4.5 months I had a colostomy bag, and I'm just like, oh my God. But this too shall pass. And at this point, I'm supposedly, and this is true, because it was aggressive. If it hadn't been aggressive, it could have taken a lot longer. But this was aggressive. It came on really fast, was fourth stage. I was like, okay, let's go for a ride here. And I went through the surgeries, I went through the chemo, and I'm ready for another life or continuation. And I think also I was just given the privilege. And I want to thank so many people. I had a Caring Bridge a site, and people were so kind. I felt like, oh, I have so many prayers that if all these medications don't work, maybe the prayers will work, and that may sound a little airy-fairy or wishy-washy, but I don't think so. I think actually that kind of positive reinforcement by people changes that a person is subject to it. And so I'm so grateful that people did. I just looked on it yesterday or the day before, and 9,000 people had, I didn't even know, I don't know about 9,000 people, But after 30 years of teaching, I don't know what I know or who I know. I just know I've done my due diligence, my duty. And I'm happy to be another round, please. So I'm going to just throw it out if you have questions about, the nature of mind, the relative, the absolute, the big, the small, something like that. If you do, great. If you don't, that's okay too. I know I could probably just keep babbling, But I am interested if you have questions about, whoops. Huh. Oh. There you are. It's so weird, I mean, I don't like the thing where you have to see yourself. So I prefer kind of seeing everybody, because that's the way I teach. I get up and usually in a room, which, by the way, is so much. Well, I am so grateful for Zoom, but I'm also really grateful for the energetics of being with people. When we're together, we carry something, and it is palatable. So, anybody have any questions, or did I do it all? You now know your own nature of being. I see. Is that Tracy? I see your.
Well, since there weren't any other questions, and that I can work this into the relative and the absolute. Are you going to be, I know this depends on your health, but are you going to be doing the Harmony Ridge retreat? Do you know?
Yes, I am. And it is what, November the, I've forgotten.
I have it written down, but not here.
I'm going there. I'm going to Jackson Hole. I'm going to teach a 7 come back here. I'll teach a 5-day. And no, I'm not out yet. I mean, unless you want
to. Will signups be soon?
Excuse me?
Will we be able to sign up soon?
For Harmony Ridge, I have no.
Okay, well, I'll just keep checking the website every day. Thank you, and it's really good seeing you again.
Thank you. Seeing you in Portland, right?
Yeah,
John.
Yep.
Oh, really? John.
but I got a cabin, so now I can have my meditation
Oh,
place.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that Carol?
Carol. Yeah, hi. Calling from Portland.
Oh, well.
Zooming in from Portland. Hey, so I've been experimenting with the timeless moments, kind of like expanding the moments in, there's really nothing happening. I mean, and it's trippy. It's so trippy that I'm wanting more of it, right? If I can keep reminding, well, you're reminding me all the time with your great talk.
Well, great. Thank you. You know, that's my objective here is to first remind you to get over yourself, because that's a big problem. And that you know, that any relative things in the world usually end in suffering. And it's ultimately all empty, empty of any inherent, you know, it's all just this phenomenal passing show.
Mm-hmm.
Will, it's kind of amazing to me to think that, you know, everyone I see on this, you're all going to die, you know? No one gets out alive. So you really have to, you know, figure out what it is. Who do you want to be now that, you know, the the thread is thin, or you know, who do you want to be now, you know? And that's why I'm glad to be teaching, in the sense that I've spent my whole life putting pieces together so I could do this. And that I feel on some level that the reason I didn't disappear on this one, that was because of you, you know? Otherwise, you know, I really have no reason to be here, you know? I mean, I love, it's like the rain today was just fantastic, you know? Um, but at the same time, I understand, you know, I get it. There's limitation here. I like to eat. I like if I can sleep, I like that too, you know? So, you know, the desires are simple now, but the gift I get is teaching.
Thank you.
Really, the big one for me. I mean, sometimes I think I could just be a beach bum, you know. But you know, it was interesting. My daughter's he's ex, I would say very ex, is you know, when I came back from Thailand, I was teaching up on Lake Tahoe, and I got this email. At 38 years old, they found his body in the surf. You know, it was like, oh my God, 38. So, and it somehow it just, you know, it brought that reality of you never know, you know. And he was out snorkeling, and who knows, probably, you know, got caught somehow. But and I spent so many years going out ridiculous situations, and yet I'm still here. So unless you have somebody has a dying question, I will go ahead and do a metta, and then there'll be some announcements, and that's the cookie, you know. And I hope that you all find that crack. I hope it doesn't crack too hard, and you find that gold Buddha within you. So just taking a moment to kind of feel yourself, you know. It's such a privilege. You can breathe, all your senses, and I think most everybody has all 5 senses, and you have this remarkable brain, and this phenomenal heart, and you don't come to this unless you have that, because ultimately then you would never notice this or these teachings without that big heart. So just take a moment, first of all, just to acknowledge yourself and your own heart, you know, that you are, first of all, you are precious. Your life is a gift. Use it. And that you can untangle the sadnesses and the betrayals and the confusions, so that you can be not only a gift to yourself, but a gift to others. May I live with an open heart. May I live with an open heart. May whatever covers my heart be dissolved. May whatever covers my heart be dissolved. As I wish for myself, I wish out into the community. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be healthy in your body, your mind, and your heart. May you be healthy and free from any confusion or suffering. And that you extend this great wish for beings, that they may, first of all, may they awaken from their ignorance, so that as human beings in this very complicated and suffering world right now, that we extend this wish that there may be a sense of peace and freedom for beings everywhere. May all beings everywhere be happy.